Welcome to Crazy Shit in Real Estate, a weekly podcast where I walk you through some of the wildest, most unbelievable stories you'll hear from the world of real estate. If you like real estate and you love crazy, this is the podcast for you. Hey friends, Leigh Brown here, and welcome back to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. Today's guest is ridiculously insightful when it comes to video, social media, and her perspective as a buyer herself in real estate. So if you're a real estate or mortgage professional, you need to be ready to take notes. If you are somebody who loves these insights into real estate, be ready to start doing some stalking on social media and enjoy this conversation with Giselle. So Giselle, welcome to the show and thank you for coming to Crazy Shit in Real Estate.
Thank you so much. And then is Emily just hanging out with us on stage?
Yes, we're not letting anybody on stage and we love you for that, but you guys are going to hang out and listen today. So it's just you and me on stage on Clubhouse.
Cool.
So for my listeners on the podcast, what Giselle and I are doing with this episode is something that we don't think has ever been done before. We're such bleeding edge people. Clubhouse is the newest social media phenomenon where people can have audio conversations, and that's actually where she and I met. And there's a ton of realtors that network in that space, mortgage lenders, people in all kinds of specialties. And Giselle's not even a real estate agent. She is a specialist in social media. And when you're a specialist in social media who works with real estate professionals, you get to see all of the great things that they do and all of the things they could be doing better. And so she actually makes a living helping people get better, which is actually a pretty fun job title. You maybe should put that on LinkedIn, Giselle.
You know, it was something that was a total accident. My career accidentally started on YouTube about 10 years ago. I was pursuing a career in entertainment news in Los Angeles, and it was a tiny little platform at the time. YouTube was not a verb. Everyone and their mom did not have a blog. Influencer by no means was a job title. And yet here I was putting videos on the internet for the sake of getting more comfortable on camera. And what I ended up finding were these extraordinarily average teenagers who had millions and millions of subscribers. And at the time, nobody was talking about it. And so I started to study this phenomenon. And with that, realizing that it really wasn't about the platform. It wasn't about an algorithm. It was more so about human consumption and behavior. And so rather than me trying to grow my own YouTube channel, I used that to get my foot in the door and set myself apart in every room that I would go into, wanting to be an on-air professional. And so I had a TV career, I had a radio career, I had an online creator career, and then I moved over to the agency side where I learned all about the technical aspects of both traditional marketing, so all of your billboards, out of home, even your TV and all of your radio, which I still very much believe in. And then also with that, learning about the digital space and paid media and paid placement. But with all of that, I've always been a personal practitioner. So I've grown my own personal brands. I will never recommend a platform to you if I have not done it or grown it myself. And also I have learned that the key to everything, it's not even about posting every single day, all day, as 𝙑𝙬 Vaynerchuk tells us to do. It's really about knowing your community, knowing what your goals are, and figuring out how you can use social media as just one more platform that for free, you can create deeper connections with your clients. And so many people do it wrong, trying to manufacture, trying to get as much content out there as possible, trying to create a persona that they very much are not in real life. And so my hope is to be able to give you the tools, the advice, the no BS feedback that you need to be able to actually use your social media so that it works for you rather than having you be a slave to it.
Okay, so this is funny. I know you're not 𝙑𝙬 Vaynerchuk because if you were, you would have said the F word about 483 times in that last 35 seconds, and you're obviously classier. But now it explains your perfect voice that I've heard on Clubhouse. You do have that radio tenor. I love that.
It used to be something that I was so embarrassed of growing up, having people tell me that as a female, I had a really low voice. And now it's something that I very much do take pride in. And yeah, no, I drop the F-bomb from time to time, but I can read a room. And that's the thing too, is that if that's who you are, I have clients and in real estate, One of my favorite people who I bring up all the time is Quen Williams, who she is on TikTok. She was featured in BuzzFeed recently, and girl swears like a sailor. And that's just who she is. That's how she speaks to her friends. It's how she speaks with her clients. And so she knows that, hey, if you're somebody who is easily offended by something like that, probably not the right fit. And yes, there's that element of you should read the room, you should read your audience, but there's also figuring out, what are the unique pieces of your personality that's just innately who you are. There are some people who cuss and they love Jesus. There are some people who don't believe in cussing at all. And does she know how to read a room? Again, yes, absolutely. But you should never have to change yourself to try to please somebody else. And that especially goes to your core values. I heard a story last week about somebody who had a client and the client turned out to be homophobic and they themselves were gay. And would it have been a really awesome commission? Probably. But deep in their hearts, they knew, okay, but wait a minute. I cannot do this. I don't think I could live with myself or go to sleep with myself knowing that I am working with this person. And so it's also just like knowing yourself well enough, knowing what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And that is when you're going to attract more of the right ideal client, that type of client who you actually look forward to versus who you hate waking up to every single day. And you have to remind yourself why you got into this business in the first place.
Okay. So we have the bulk of my podcast audience is consumers. They are not in real estate. They are looking at real estate. They are interested in the stories. They're interested in the profession that we've chosen. So I'd love for you to share, knowing that a lot of my audience is not in real estate, and let them know that you are now helping real estate people with branding and with this concept of drive home who you are so that you do become an attraction mechanism for the right clients. How have you seen realtors do things poorly? And how could a consumer tell the difference between somebody who is dreadful and who is just making dreadful mistakes on social media? Because they're two different things entirely.
I love this question. And if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, Leigh, I think we're getting I love this question. And if you wouldn't mind, Leigh, I think we're getting some background noise for you. So you might need to mute yourself here on Clubhouse temporarily. But here's the thing. What I am often seeing is that you have realtors who are uploading to social media and they're not at all taking into consideration who their audience is. Perfect example. Last week, I noticed someone, not one of my clients, but someone from Clubhouse who your Instagram should be connected to your Clubhouse. That is the way that you can connect off of this platform. That is the way that you can direct message with one another. And so anytime that someone is asking me a question, I will go peep at their bio. I will go peep at their Instagram. And this realtor had nothing but real estate memes, which can be fine and really funny, except for all of these real estate memes were talking about horror story clients. That client that you absolutely hate working with, like them venting their frustrations of what they hate about being a realtor. And that is when I want to be like, girlfriend, read the room. Your Instagram is your business card, and all you're doing is venting your frustrations about what you hate about your job and what you hate about your clients. That is a train wreck of an example.
Yes. Can you say that again for the people in the back? And I'm not going to name the account, but there is a popular account that realtors love to follow that calls itself not the agent with money, but another version. And it's funny to realtors, but sharing that to the public makes us look terrible. You've got to consider the audience, guys, not just the people you're trying to sell houses to, but your realtor audience. There's lots of different groups here. Girl, I'm so glad you said that.
And there is a fine line, because I do think it's important for you to give your client a peek behind the curtain. They perhaps don't always know how hard you are working your ass off for them. And so laughter is definitely a piece of value that you can use to connect with your client. And so there are going to be memes that are funny that you can share that give an inside look of what you're doing and how many houses you're showing or properties that you are showing. But with that, you just want to have an element of just knowing who you're talking to. And so for those of you who you're trying to find the right realtor, you're trying to find the right person for you, this will actually help real estate agents who are listening to this right now in Clubhouse and also consumers. But again, how can your profile work for you while you're sleeping? How can your bio say exactly who your target customer is and exactly what you specialize in, exactly how people can get in touch with you, and exactly what you're about and who you are as a human being? Because ultimately, you are someone who you're going to make a piece of their dream come true. They're going to give you a big, big, big chunk of money to trust you with. And so they want to feel like you are their mentor, their friend, their ally. I mean, some of them need more handholding than others. And so how can we show that warmth or that humor or that personality that you perhaps are a family person, or maybe you totally understand the Minneapolis condo market, or you absolutely specialize in multifamily homes. You are the guaranteed seller, whatever that is, the city you are in, 1000%. But then also, when we're looking at your profile, I should be able to see in 2 to 3 swipes, that first 6 to 9 pictures, videos, whatever profile it is, who you are, what you're about, what your specialty is. So when you think about who your ideal client is, what are the 5 to 10 questions that they are asking you the most? What are the 5 to 10 questions that they are too afraid to ask out loud? How can you let them know that you are the right person for them before they even text you, send you an email, pick up the phone? Because honestly, most of the time they have made their decision before they even do any of those things. And that then is your client to lose if you turn out to be something different than what you have perceived yourself to be in your profile. So when we're thinking about what we want to be showing in that top grid, is it a property that you have? Is it maybe the family that you have? Is it, your favorite place to visit or dine? Is it a question that you're asking? Getting yourself on video so that we can see a less filtered version of you, hear your voice, see your eyes. Oh my goodness, the amount of profiles that I have gone to where all you have are your listings. It's just house after house after house, sold sign after sold sign, dollar sign after dollar sign. Like, no, boo-boo. That's great. And you should absolutely share your listings, and that's wonderful. But ultimately, and we hear this so much, it is a cliche, people buy from people. So we want to get to know who you are. We want to know why you are the person who you're going to make me feel the most comfortable in my buying decision. So understand that you might think that you can hide from social media and that people can only see what you're putting out. But if you're not putting out more of yourself, and if there are question marks still, then that is an opportunity for you to lose. And I want to circle back there really quickly, because there's personal and there's private. You don't need to put all of your mom, and your business and your kids and everything. You don't need to do that by any means. You get to choose. It is your prerogative to choose what is personal, what is private, but you need to show some of that personal. And so I like to use the example of back before social distancing, you could take your client around in your car. What's some of the small talk that you were chatting about? What were you shooting the shit about? What, are you talking about your kids? Are you talking about drinks? Are you talking about sports? Like, what are some of those things that you would openly discuss or not? And that's how you can determine what it is that you're wanting to share on your profile.
Okay, so put your, Giselle is not a YouTube strategist for a minute hat on, but Giselle lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and is a condo dweller. When you selected your realtor, what were you looking for in their outside marketing, in their branding? Were you looking for the number of houses that they sold? Does that matter to you as a buyer? Were you looking for somebody who was connected to you? Were you looking for expertise? I'm curious from your consumer hat, which I know is almost impossible to separate when you've spent over a decade as being a specialist in your field. So curious, because I don't think we as realtors look often enough at what our consumers are using as criteria to select us, because we think everything's about us. I mean, we put our tiara on and go about our day.
Let me tell you. So I just bought my dream condo last year in Minneapolis. So you were spot on.
Woohoo!
But before I even tell you what I was looking for, because again, we get caught up in that me, I want to tell you where I was at as a consumer, just to serve as a reminder and what we're not seeing enough of with real estate. I am a millennial. I'm a single female. I was actually going through this weird internal conflict where I was like, should I even be buying property by myself? I was actually grieving a dream while I was also making one come true, because my mind was always, I'm going to do this with a partner. I'm going to do this with, my life partner. They're going to carry me over the threshold, and this is going to be the beginning of our life together. And all of a sudden, even though I'm so empowered and proud of the fact that here I am buying this beautiful piece of property by myself, I'm also like, that's kind of sad. Like, should I be sad? Like, should I be sad though? Like, is this lonely? Like, is this weird that I'm popping the champagne bottle by myself? Like, it was very strange for me. And then I have all these questions going through my head where I'm like, how much house can I afford? How much house can I afford? And also, can I write this off because now I'm working from home? Granted, I was pretty much working from home forever. Do I want to put a little down or a lot down? Do I want to get a fixer upper, or do I want something that's turnkey? I really don't know. As far as HOA goes, like what's with that? Like parking spaces, how does that work? Just all of these different things. But I do think that it's always so important that we think about emotionally the ethos part of it, not just affordability, but emotionally, where is this person at in their lives? Are they making room for children? Are they making room for pets? Is this something that they're doing by themselves? Are they a first generation home buyer? Do they have someone who's helping them out, or are they doing everything by themselves? Do they have a good perception of the real estate industry or not? Because there are some people who maybe they have been burned in the past and they think that realtors are just a bunch of greasy car salesmen.
Are you guys listening to all this? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you're not writing notes as furiously quickly as you can right now, you have no business ever coming back to me or Giselle in Clubhouse saying, what do I make a video about? What do I talk about in my marketing? Because she just gave you enough content starters for like 2 quarters of material. And so this is why you want to go back and listen to this episode again. But think about every question she asked herself, and ask yourself if you as a realtor are answering that in your media before you meet the consumer. Because if you're answering it in advance, you're opening the door for somebody to come in. And by the way, I bought my first house as a single female. So high fives and shout outs to all the single female buyers who said, I'm going to get this done and we'll see what life throws at me next. And I'm not going to lie, my mama hen heart kind of melted a little bit when you said that you were grieving that, because we all do grow up with these images in our heads of what life is going to look like. But that doesn't mean we can't grow up and let those images of life expand and have a different set of crayons tossed in. So I love you. And I love that you brought that up, because I would love it more if more professionals would slow their roll enough to find out those answers, and then we wouldn't be perceived the way that we are. So I'll let you go on now, but I had to stop you on that, because holy smokes, that's such good feedback, friend.
And you know what? I don't think I've ever seen a realtor do this before. And I'm not saying it's never been done before, but clearly it's not done enough. And that is that I don't think I've ever seen a realtor talk about boundaries or their relationship with their clients. And by that, I mean, going into this situation, like, am I being annoying if I'm texting them, asking if I want to go see a house, or 3 or 4? Is there a limit for how many showings we should be going to? Is it normal that you only go to 3? Is it normal that you go to 30? I don't know what that looks like. Like, do you prefer for me to text or call you? Do you prefer for me to work through your assistant? Part of the frustrations that realtors have with their clients sometimes are because you yourself have not made apparent what it is that you're willing to do and the type of relationship that you like to have with your clients. And so even establishing what that looks like, answering some of those questions about, on average, how many houses you visit with a client, or is it normal for fill in the blank? I would love to know those types of things, especially whether or not I've worked with a realtor in the past, but regardless, I'm working with you. And we forget sometimes as entrepreneurs and with our online communities that we should be establishing boundaries with these people in the same way that we would establish boundaries with our family members, with our friends. And so even allowing for that look behind the curtain to know what's appropriate, what's not, how can I make it so that I'm not a client from hell? But also, how can you make it so that you're not a realtor from hell? Because I don't want that either.
Okay, so this goes back to what we were discussing about the inappropriate items that get shared online. If you're sharing memes about how crappy your clients are, but you never set the expectations down, how are they supposed to know that they've driven you crazy? You're making a great point. This is the conversation I have with my clients at the beginning in our consultation, but I've never made a video about here's how many houses you should expect to see. Here's how open houses work. So I think I'm going to have to go create a different set of content because that's brilliant perspective. And guys, this is why we often need to get perspective from outside of the silo of real estate. So if you're looking for a strategist, hire somebody who helps realtors, but isn't in the middle of it, because she's going to see this with a different perspective. And that's critical, especially considering that you looked at all these teenagers and younger than teenagers making money on YouTube, because that's a different space in which they're operating. Is different. So you're viewing that from a millennial, which you're old next to the YouTubers, young compared to the rest of us. But I'm just going to point out something. I'm pretty sure you're watching makeup videos because your makeup is perfect. And I'm a little disgusted by that. I'll just be honest. But that's also what YouTube is for, friends. Good makeup advice. All right. So in the process of buying your condo, did you see or experience anything that was completely unexpected and you had to either educate yourself through it, talk to your realtor through it, or just gird your loins and power through it?
I luckily had a realtor who I loved so much and has been a family friend for a long time. He helped my brother buy and sell his first homes. And this is the interesting thing that happened, though, was we looked at about 3 or 4 properties together. I went to one with his assistant and he was always so wonderful. And we had a little bit of a different relationship because we're friends too. But what ended up happening was I had a very close friend who was not planning on selling his condo and all of a sudden knew that I was looking. And so here we are, we're 2 mutual friends. His listing isn't even on the market yet. And we decided to go ahead and make a deal, 2 friends. So in that situation, I had to have the seemingly uncomfortable conversation with both my friend and my realtor saying, hey, so I actually I'm going to end up buying a place that we did not see, and there's no realtor involved here. And what was so beautiful from that moment is he was like, listen, I love it. And as it turns out, he knew my friend as well. He said, I love both of you. I'm more than happy to help you drop the contracts. You know, you don't have to give me a commission. You don't have to pay for anything. I'm just so happy that you found the place that you love so much. And so both of us were able to do the right thing that would be the right thing for the transaction and also for our relationship. And sometimes that means you're not getting the sale, but ultimately, I mean, I'm going to recommend him forever. Jay Ettinger, Edina Realty, by the way.
Oh, see, we love the people at Edina Realty because, you know, the past president of the National Association, John 𝙀𝘵, is he's a managing broker at Edina Realty, and his amazing bride, Linda, is a realtor there as well. I love them. So your company has their company has a great reputation. But let's just point out the key to the whole scenario here. It was communication. You didn't sneak off away from your realtor and ghost him and go buy the property and cut him completely out. You figured out a way to keep him involved, even though he wasn't going to be compensated in the same way, I would assume. And he graciously figured out that this was the best thing for you and for the off-market property, which is a lesson every real estate professional needs to learn, is that you're going to be confronted with different kinds of scenarios where you'll be doing different levels of expertise. And it's okay to have those conversations, because ultimately, I think this is the mark of a true professional, right? That he didn't get ugly with you. He didn't go on social media and type in all caps with big exclamation points about how awful you are. He figured it out. And look at your open and willing mindset of recommending him. It's not just that referral mindset. And I fuss about this with realtors too. They're always thinking about, how do I make the next deal? But you, on your consumer hat, are willingly recommending him because of the kind of professional he is, because of what he brings to the marketplace. And all of this happened in an unconventional scenario. And I'm sure that there are people listening to us right now whose stomachs are hurting a little bit because they've probably not been as helpful as they could have been in an unconventional scenario, because you get back into that scarcity mindset. So obviously he has that abundance that really changes how everything looks. So before I let you off the podcast, I'm going to ask you for some best and worst things you've ever seen. I want to know, you said you've seen some boring profiles full of houses. Have you seen anything that made your jaw drop and you screenshotted it because it was so bad and you're thinking, I'm going to share this in my next YouTube explainer video, but because you're sweet and you put the little emoji on their face and scratch their name out, but then we can all laugh at their horribleness. I'd love to know what you've seen. And by the way, if you're a normal person out there who buys and sells real estate, it's pretty darn entertaining to go look at realtors on social media, whether you're buying or selling, because it's almost a game to see who can do the most outlandish thing. But then you compare that against the ones who are creative and they are creating really great content for their community and for their business. And you can watch people stretch, but then you see outlandish and there's a little bit of a difference. So definitely be who you are. But Giselle, what have you seen?
There was the example that I gave earlier when it came to someone who was doing the memes and trashing their clients and just, it could not have been worse. But I also want to talk about some of the subtleties where maybe you don't even realize you're doing a bad job, because I think that will be the most helpful. Maybe you are a new realtor, or maybe you haven't quite stepped into being a full-time realtor, or you hate showing yourself on camera, whether it's photos or even videos. And so one of the things that I have seen is I'll go to a profile. I can't even tell that they're a realtor other than maybe the mention that's inside of their bio. I can't even see it, or I don't even know who they are or what they look like, because maybe their profile picture is a house, or maybe they think they're doing the right thing because they're showing pictures of their family, yet I don't even know which one is you. I don't even know who I'm talking to. I've sometimes seen husband and wife teams where it's meant to be their personal profile, but I'm like, I don't know whose profile this is. Like, I don't, is this your team profile?
Say how crazy that drives me, because I don't know which one is the realtor until they answer something, then they put their name in parentheses. And I guess that's meant to be cute. But first of all, I would never share a profile with anybody but me. But if you're a married couple, pick a name, please, on behalf of the world. Tell us which one you are. I had to add that in.
Yeah. And it's one thing if it's your team page, then of course it makes sense to have both of you. But if you're going to have a personal page, then, there should be one for each of you so that we know who each of you are and the role that you play within the business. The other thing that I see so wrong is where I feel like your profile is just one giant flyer. Like, it is nothing but templated or screenshotted right from, the MLS or from your own website. And I'm like, what is this? Another thing that I have seen is someone's entire Instagram profile is screenshots of everything else except for Instagram. So screenshots of their YouTube show, screenshots of their podcast, screenshots of their TikTok, or they're just regurgitating everything else right into Instagram. And you can so easily tell. And I'm all about recycling and repurposing, but just make it so that I can't tell where it's coming from, because otherwise it just looks like weird chopped liver, or, just the sloppy seconds, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so I would rather you post once a week versus just throwing spaghetti at the wall so that you can get something up every single day of the week that isn't at all in line with what your mission or intention is. And if you're listening and you're like, Giselle, I don't even know how to find that. Like, I don't even know, like, this whole time I get it, but I don't get it. Then slide into my DMs. My DMs are always open, and I would love to help you however I can, whether it is through complimentary resources, because I know what it's like when you can't afford the help. I get it. I understand. Or if you're really ready to take things to the next level and you're ready to invest in you and your business, because this is the way of the future, y'all. Like this is not going anywhere. And if you want to continue to say that social media is this vain, vapid, shallow place, then you're doing it wrong. And you're seriously missing out on creating an even deeper personal relationship with your client in these times of social distancing.
So I'll just add in, because I'm your mama hen, if you don't say that you're a realtor in your profile, you're probably in violation of your real estate commission guidelines, because if you're using that for advertising and the consumer can't readily see your brokerage affiliation, or let's say you're in California and your license number needs to be and stuff, y'all, you've got to be compliant, because you really don't want your license pulled over Instagram. That might be a little horrifyingly embarrassing, but get compliant. The only thing I'll add in, some of y'all are probably sitting there thinking, well, if I've got to do more, but it's got to look good, what do I do? I'm just going to say that my viewpoint on your stuff is, even if the videos aren't perfect when you start them and you got to make some crappy ones to get going, y'all, go ahead. You're not going to be perfect like Giselle off the bat. It's taken me 12 years to figure out how to do video effectively, and that's a long time. So we can give you some tips and tricks to cut the learning curve, but done is better than perfect. Just think about what you're doing and how it can help you grow, because the way that you grow.
Girl,
is how
say it again. Say it again. The done is better than perfect thing. Like, I have had clients who they have full-on production teams who are helping them, and they're editing and they're uploading all of this video. And I am just putting my face, the face palm thing where I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know what your mission is here. And I would much rather see you taking your camera yourself in your own hands, your phone, not your camera, the camera that is on your phone, in the device that you are currently holding right now. I have seen significantly better, more connected videos from people who just pull out their phone during a showing, or maybe it's between showings where you have a little bit of free time and you're connecting with the person who you know exactly who they're talking to. And those videos be more effective than people who pay tens of thousands of dollars for a team to do it for them.
See, we weren't telling y'all you have to be perfect to do Instagram videos and to not throw it up against the wall, because for a minute you do, but we expect you to be the awesome professionals and learn as you go. So Giselle, I'm going to have all of your contact information in the show notes for this episode. And of course, guys, if you're in the audience on the Clubhouse side and you have not followed Giselle, you're slightly crazy. She's also one of the great moderators in the space. She knows how to allow you to speak, but also to not let you poach a room. And that's a gift, because we all have to learn how to share space and ideas. It's a beautiful thing. Giselle, thank you for coming on the show. And I'm so excited for your condo, single girl, whoop, whoop. And I'm excited for what you're doing in the space to help make it easier for all of our neighbors in this amazing country to find the realtor that can help them achieve their American dream. So thank you.
I so appreciate you for having me. I'm glad that we made this work. I loved spending Sunday with you. And for anybody who is listening, get on Clubhouse. This application is life-changing, whether you work in real estate or especially if you do not. The ability that you have to connect with people from all over the world across so many different industries, raise your hand, speak up, stand out. It is phenomenal. And without it, I would not be here in this space with so many of you. And I look forward to being able to bring more value to more people and continue to use this device that I have currently in my fingertips to really change the world and change lives and take you to the next place in your business. So I'm very excited, and I'm very grateful and humbled.
All right. So you know what to do next, friends. Subscribe to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You give it 5 stars, because any less than that, and I will cry like the plant no one waters, and I will just die. And then you will have no more fun content. So until then, I'll see you next time, and we'll log off of the podcast now.
If you are listening to this episode and you need to tell us something about your crazy life in or around real estate, then tweet me at Leigh Brown or reach me on any of the social networks. That's if you're a broker, realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular, normal human being who happens to have dealt in real estate. Subscribe for more episodes, and as always, we are thrilled that you joined us for some crazy shit in real estate. See you next time.